Now this problem, we have a little bit of everything that we're going to throw out at you. So follow along, help me. If I make a mistake, shout out and let me know, hey, you made a mistake there, Willie. Fix that real quick before we continue on. What I've learned so far is when I'm multiplying almost anything, if I could factor first and try to simplify before I do all the heavy lifting, I'm better off. And it's a little bit easier and more fun doing that. So let's look at our original problem. Let's factor everything that we can and then see what happens. Factoring a 4 out, I would left with an x plus a 2. Factor a 3x, left with a 2 minus an x. I think so. And then factor this beast. That looks like that's a 3x. And then x. Then I need to have a negative 2 here and a positive 2 there. If I remember my factoring correctly, first times first makes a 3x squared. Last times last makes a negative 4. Outers, negative 6x. Inners, 2x. Add those together gives me the negative 4x. So I just did a back check there just to make sure I was working right. And then on this bottom one, yeah, some of you guys saw it. 9x squared minus 4, yep. That's a 3x minus a 2 and a 3x plus a 2. Difference of 2 squares. Love that. Factoring things. All right, so I do see some things that factor out right now. I see 3x plus a 2 factors out with that 3x plus a 2. Yeah, I think maybe something else factors out. Wait a minute. I have a 2 minus x and an x minus 2 there. Those are offset by a negative 1, which means I need to factor a negative 1 out of one of those two terms. So here, let's clean up my mess first. 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 2 all over 3x times 2 minus x times 3x minus 2. All right, it's always good to kind of clean up your mess as you go so you limit the possibility you're going to make a mistake. I made a ton of them because sometimes my work can get sloppy. All right, let's factor out a negative 1 from this x minus 2. So I'll have a 4 times an x plus a 2, factor out a negative 1, and I'm left with a negative x plus a 2, and I'm just going to write it around the other way. My denominator is a 3x times a 2 minus x, sorry about that folks, and a 3x minus a 2. Now again, if you're not sure on this factoring out the negative 1, we can always work our way backwards. Negative 1 times a 2 gives me a negative 2. Negative 1 times negative x gives me that positive x. Now from there, let's factor, or see if something factors out. The 2 minus x factors out, so I'm left with a negative 4x plus 2 all over a 3x times a 3x minus a 2. I prefer leaving our solutions in factored form because from there it's going to be more useful to solve some more difficult problems as we continue on. But if we needed to, we can continue to simplify this somehow by just multiplying the negative 4 through. So I would have a negative 4x minus an 8. And on the bottom, I would have a 9x squared minus a 6x. Assuming I didn't make any mistakes there. Looks like it. And then there's some other little gymnastics you can do. I could, move some negatives around and whatnot, but that's essentially a solution that I can live with. It's a right solution, it's a correct solution, so we're good to go.